Welcome to Friday, June 23, 2023, your day weather podcast brought to you by Cowboy State Daily. Check them out at cowboystatedaily.com. Well, we've got one more day of widespread severe weather to contend with before things settle down a little bit heading into the weekend. The shot from Eric in Highlands Ranch, Colorado yesterday, yes, that was the thunderstorm that ended up breeding the tornado in the Highlands Ranch, Colorado area near Denver yesterday. Lots of interesting cloud photos coming your way from another active day of severe weather across the western high plains and front range. And today we've got another round coming. Now there's going to be a slight eastward shift of the severe weather today. It's going to go further out onto the plains a bit as that Pacific trough begins to move, and will focus a lot of energy in a very large area north to south. We'll show you here in a minute where there's going to be severe weather again. But dry air punches in for some areas as we get into tonight and Friday. When that happens, rather tonight and Saturday, when that happens, we're going to have windy areas in southern Wyoming, parts of northern Colorado late tonight and through midday tomorrow as that system exits. However, the drier air will mainly stay in the central and southern Rockies. It's going to be quite wet today, tonight, and Saturday across northern Wyoming and all of the Dakotas and just about all of Montana with this system coming on through. So while some areas dry out tonight and into Saturday and Sunday, there will still be some wet areas, Montana, northern Wyoming, and the Dakotas. So we'll need to watch that along with very cool conditions. Seasonal temperatures coming for this weekend and next week. Seasonal means temperatures close to your averages for late June, which means 70s and 80s for most of you. Pretty comfortable conditions, a little bit warmer, but certainly not hot. So tornado activity did get going yesterday. I mentioned that Highlands Ranch, Colorado activity. This was storm chaser Dan Fitz chasing this storm near Chugwater, Wyoming yesterday afternoon. It was a brief tornado, but tornado nonetheless, touching down 9 miles southwest of Chugwater. And then a lot of mammatus cloud photos. This is from near Ryan Park yesterday, a very large storm going through parts of Carbon and Albany County yesterday. Quite a strong one, producing heavy rain and some hail. And then a great shot here in Rock Springs, looking at a thunderstorm building there over White Mountain and then moving through, producing strong winds, some rain, and a little bit of hail as well. And then as the sun goes down, this was the day before, great shot looking at a thunderstorm off to the east from Pilot Hill near Laramie. And we're going to see more clouds like this and more big thunderstorms developing later today, and it's going to be over a large area. These are the thunderstorms you see, these blotches of white from early this morning, still continuing as they developed over the Rockies yesterday, they moved out onto the plains. So you'll see these thunderstorms in these areas this morning dissipating. The blue patches right here indicating still a lot of high humidity air. This blue area that you see, these blue patches, are basically low stratus clouds or areas of fog, or kind of a combination of both. So you can see that along and near the front range here, we still have a pooling of moisture that extends up to here. So we're going to continue to have a situation where there's a lot of moisture along and east of the I-25 corridor, and that's going to set the stage again for strong thunderstorms. The pattern looks about the same as it's been for the last several days. A trough to our west, strong winds aloft right here, upslope moist winds coming here, and cold air aloft available coming in from the west. So it's essentially the same situation, just subtle differences today. And one of those subtle differences is a slight eastward shift, because this low actually now is beginning to move. And as it does move, look what will happen today. We'll see a lot of dry air get punched into the western slope of Colorado, southern areas of southwest, south central Wyoming, back into Utah, while there's a big contrast between dry air and very moist air east of the divide. So we've got a lot of pooling of moisture here, basically what we'll call a dry line situation that'll come off the front range, pushing eastward out into the plains. Daytime heating. This is a recipe for severe weather again today. And here's where the thunderstorms are predicted to form by mid to late afternoon and into the evening hours. And you can see that dry punch right here where the thunderstorm activity is going to be very limited, but along north and east of that boundary is where the thunderstorms are going to get going. Now, eventually that drier air gets pushed over the divide tonight and into Saturday in the southern areas. But the thunderstorm risk is very high. You can see this large area of enhanced ENH. This is the area where the thunderstorms are likely going to be their worst. There's going to be a very good environment for supercells, meaning very large, very organized thunderstorms. Now, you tend to have gaps in supercells where you'll have a long distance between them, so there will be gaps. But the thunderstorms that do develop in this enhanced area will really have a high probability of producing heavy rain, hail, and a high probability of tornado activity again. But it's another long swath, north to south, developing. Now notice it's not quite as backed up against the front range as the areas of severe weather over the last couple of days, as there's a bit of an eastward shift into the area. So a little bit further out into the plains. But watch these areas right here today through evening for a pretty high risk of severe weather today. But drier air does punch in over the weekend. Here is the tornado risk today, the highest tornado risk, and this is the hail risk. You can see a very high hail risk over northeastern Wyoming, western South Dakota, western Nebraska, far southeastern Montana, basically right along and just east of the I-25 corridor areas out on into the plains. This is going to be a very active region later today through early tonight. Now by Saturday noon, this is by noon Saturday, the low, which it's here right now, finally moves. But as it goes up and over the divide, this is where it's going to produce wet weather up here with a lot of showers and thunderstorms, but strong jet stream winds that are perpendicular to the divide. Well, that's a recipe for the wind, especially in the wind gaps. The wind gaps like the wind gaps around I-80, around Arlington and Elk Mountain, through Muddy Gap, through the Shirley Basin, the strong winds that develop along I-25 between Wheatland and Cheyenne. Going to get very windy there, and for some areas of far northern Colorado as well. It'll be a short duration wind episode, but windy nonetheless. And here you can see the forecasted wind gusts through Saturday morning. Pretty windy in those areas there. Pretty windy on Colorado's western slope and across eastern Utah as well, and then down into New Mexico. Here is the drier air we were talking about punching in. This is by Saturday morning, so there's a big punch of dry air getting over the divide, but a concentration of deeper moisture up here in Montana, northern Wyoming, and the Dakotas. And voila, you can see how you could have a really good organized area of heavy rain from showers and thunderstorms. Northern Wyoming, across Montana, in the Dakotas. These showers and thunderstorms right here are going to basically be what will be happening this afternoon and evening and into tonight, and then overnight tonight into Saturday up into those areas there. By the weekend and into early next week, things begin to move around a little bit, but look what happens. This is by next Tuesday. Another low swings into the Great Basin in the far west again. So here we go again. We're going to see the big hot high down here in Texas continuing, but a pattern that remains similar to where there's going to be more thunderstorm activity in the afternoon and evening hours of next week as well. I don't know if we'll have as much severe weather, but we're going to have afternoon and evening thunderstorms with those seasonal temperatures. This is by Monday. So you can see by Monday, we're back to moisture along the front range again in a similar pattern where along and east of the divide, shower and thunderstorm activity continues as that low settles in again, another one behind it into the Great Basin. So a little bit of deja vu for another week. Have yourself a good weekend. Watch out for that severe weather again today.